Hello, in this video I'm going to talk about finding the whole. What that means is finding out what the whole amount is when we already know what part of the amount is. For instance, in this problem, 18 is 9% of what number? We know what part of it is. We know that 18 is 9%, so part of it is 18, but we want to know what the whole number is. Okay, I think the easiest way to do this is to just set up an unknown variable and make an equation and solve it. There's a couple other techniques we can use to do it, but I'm going to show you this way because I think it's the easiest, and then we can explore other alternatives in class. So first of all, I'll show you how to just make up an unknown here. So we're looking for what number? So I'm just going to make up a variable, n equals the number. Okay, now I'm just going to do a straight translation. I'm just going to translate the words right into math. So 18 is just 18. The word is means equals. As we've been working in percents earlier in this chapter, and so we know that 9% is actually the decimal 0.09. And the word of in math means multiplication. So I could use a decimal here, or I could use an X to show multiplication, but I'm not going to use either of those because a decimal might get confused with the multiplication symbol of a dot, and an X might get confused with a letter like N. So another thing that we can use is parentheses. Okay, so I'm going to show that we're going to multiply 0.09 by something, and the next thing we're going to multiply is by the number, right? I'm running out of colors here. So what number? So the number is just n. So we have 18 is 0.09 times n. And this might be difficult to understand the first time, but after you do a few of these, you realize it's the same thing every time, and it's just you're translating directly. It's like taking a Spanish class and just changing every word from Spanish to English. So, and I'll explain how to solve it from here as well. So we have 18 equals 0.09 times n. As we know, we can just write 0.09 n because anytime you have a number next to a letter, it means multiplication. Now to get that n by itself, we did these earlier in the year. We were able to isolate n by dividing by whatever was next to it. For instance, in this case, 0.09. And if we do that to both sides, then our n will be all by itself, and we will know what it equals. So 18 divided by 0.09. This will be a good opportunity for us to practice some more long division. So remember, you cannot divide with a decimal on the outside, so we need to move it over twice, which means you need to move it over twice on the inside. Put some zeros in there. We'll extend the house. So the decimal is now right here. Keep everything nice and lined up. And I think this problem will actually be a lot easier than we initially thought. 9 goes into 18 twice. I'm going to put that over the 8, right, because it didn't go into 1. And then we'll get no remainder. And so as we bring down zeros, it's just going to be 0, right? 9 goes into 0, 0 times. Bring down another 0. 9 goes into 0, 0 times. And we're done. 200 is the answer. Let's see if that makes sense. If 9% of 200, that's very close to 10% of 200. So 10% of 200 would be 20. 9% being 18 makes a lot of sense. So we know that 18 is 9% of 200. So here's our answer. Let's try another. This is going to be a tad more difficult because it's not set up in a simple 18 is 9% of situation. But it has all those words, and so we just need to move some stuff around a little bit. So get over here. So Tasha paid $27 for a pair of shoes. This is 45% of the original price. If you look at this sentence right here, that's exactly what this is. Same as the sentence we had right here, the question we had right here. And so we just need to figure out what all the pieces are. Tasha paid $27 for a pair of shoes. This, so $27, that's what it means there. That's what the this is. So we have 27 is 45%, we know is 0.45 of the original price. Well, we don't know what that is, and that's specifically what's being asked for here. So let's make up a variable. P equals original price. So 27 is 0.45 of multiplication P, the original price. So we have 27 equals 0.45 P. I'm going to divide both sides by 0.45 to isolate the variable, which is exactly what our goal is here. So that P is going to be all alone over here. And we just need to do 27 divided by 0.45. Again, great opportunity to practice some extra long division. So the, oops, that should be a 5. Let's fix that. 0.45. Now we need to move the decimal 2 places to the right. Same thing in here. 1, 2. Replace that with some zeros. Put the decimal into the answer and get started. So 45 does not go into 2 or 27. It goes into 270. Not sure. I'm going to think, how about 6 times? Let's try it out. 45 times 6. 24. Oh, that was actually a lucky guess. So it went in 6 times exactly. And we get a 0 remainder. So we bring down a 0. 45 does not go into 0. And so we're going to get another 0 remainder. So we are done. So P is going to be equal to 60. Let's go back and see if that makes sense. 27 is 45% of 60. Well, 50% of 60 would be 30, because it would be half. So 27, so a little less than that, should be a little less than 50%. So that makes a lot of sense. There we go. P equals, or what was the original price of the shoes? We answer like this. $60. All right, next question. There are 6,000 people watching a game in a football stadium. If 75% of the seats are filled, how many seats are in the stadium? Okay, again, we need to find a variable. S equals number of seats in the stadium. You've probably realized by now that the variable that we define here, this is called defining a variable, is always what the question is. How many seats are in the stadium? S equals number of seats in the stadium. Now let's go about translating our equation. So there are 6,000 people watching a game in a football stadium. So they are the people sitting in the seats, filling the seats, right? So if 75% of the seats are filled, how many seats are in the stadium? So 75% of all the seats, let me move this down a little bit. Would equal 6,000 because, oops, not 600, 6,000 because it says there are 6,000 people watching a game in a stadium. If 75% of the seats are filled, so 6,000 people really is 75% of all the seats. So another way we could say it, if we wanted to have an alternative way, here, let me shrink this down. Well, that's not going to work. I'll just move it over here. So we could say 6,000 is 75% of all seats, something like that. Either way, we can make our equation based off either one of these two statements. So I'll do it with this one here. 0.75, that of means multiplication. All the seats is S, we just decided that earlier, equals 6,000. We're going to do our long division here, dividing both sides by 0.75 so that we can get our S isolated. So that's going to leave us with S over here, and 6,000 divided by 0.75. Another opportunity for us to fix any long division issues that we're having. Moving over the decimal twice, same underneath. Putting the decimal into the answer. And again, I think this is not going to be very hard at all. 75 does not go into 6 or 60. It goes into 600, I think 6 times. Let's check that. 75 times 6 is 30 and 45. No, I was wrong. Okay, so I think it's 8 times. Yeah, so it's going to be 8 times. All right, so 8. And then we're going to get no remainder. And so every time we bring down a 0, we just have to put it into the answer. 8, 8, 8. So our answer is 8,000 seats. Let's see if that makes sense. There are 6,000 people in the stadium, which is 75% of 8,000. Well, half of 8,000 would be 4,000. So it does make sense that 75% would be 6,000. Great. Okay, so here's our answer. Whoops. All right, last problem here. 36th grade students are on the honor roll. It's kind of confusing with 30 and 6th, so I'll just write 30. Are on the honor roll. This is this, so 30 is what we're talking about here. 30 is 20% of the 6th grade. How many 6th grade students are there? Okay, so let's say S equals number of 6th grade students. Again, the question is what I'm going to make my variable. How many 6th grade students are there? S equals number of 6th grade students. That's easy. So now we're going back to this sentence here. This, 30, right? 30, might move that, if we can move that down. No, I'll do it this way. So I'll move this down. So this, meaning 30, is 20%, that's 0.2, of multiplication 6th grade. Okay, so we have 30 equals 0.2s. Same deal, we're going to divide by 0.2 to isolate our variable. So we're going to get an s, oops, let's do that with a different color. So we're going to get an s on this side, and 30 divided by 0.2, which is same as 300 divided by 2, which is 150. So we think that there are 150 6th grade students. Let's double check that. 30 are on the honor roll, which is 20% of 150. Well, 10% of 150 is 15, so 30 would be 20%. So the answer, there's 150 6th graders. All right, that's the end of the video. Don't forget to fill out the form. Bye-bye.